Hey everybody, this is your Digital Super Saiyan 3 back with another video. And we finally get to the December pay-per-view review. Armageddon 2000 took place December 10th, 2000 at the Jefferson Center in Birmingham, Alabama. Sweet home Alabama. This show was known for the six-man Hell in a Cell match for the WWF Championship, as champion Kurt Angle defended the title against The Undertaker, Rikishi, The Rock, Triple H, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. So where to begin with this show? Well, first we start off with a six-person elimination tag match as Team Extreme, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, and Lita take on the Radicals, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, and Perry Saturn. This was a really good opening match when you talk about the talent involved in this. Especially, you have eliminations happening really fast, though, is one of the nitpicks of this match. But either way, it was still a very solid opening match, though. Like, it came down to Lita and Malenko, and Dean Malenko locked the Texas Cloverleaf onto Lita, and Lita tapped out. And this all happened after Lita had a date with Malenko, and Malenko got beat up by the Hardy Boys inside a hotel. It was still a good match, though. This was a great opening match. Next up, we get, for the WWF European Championship, William Regal defeating Hardcore Holly. And Hardcore Holly versus William Regal. Not much to say about this match. Regal retains thanks to help from Raven. Raven would hit Hardcore Holly with the even flow / Raven effect DDT. And really not much to say for this match. William Regal retained, nothing more. I gotta say, William Regal, like I said, is a very underrated talent, and I like William Regal. I still like William Regal. Very underrated talent, and I really wish he would have gotten pushed to the main event scene. Next up, we get a match between Right to Censor's Val Venus defeating Chyna. Val Venus defeated Chyna, and yeah, he was part of Right to Censor. The former porn star character was now part of the squeaky clean Right to Censor group, and oh boy, the RTC sucks. Okay, this faction was a stupid idea. I don't know whose idea was it. I don't know if it was Steven Richards' idea or any other person's idea, but it was dumb as hell. And Val Venus won thanks to help from Ivory. Then Chyna tries to beat up Ivory at the end of the match. Then Val Venus lays out Chyna. Really not much to say about this one. Next up, in a really solid last man standing match, we got Chris Jericho defeating Kane in a last man standing match. Now, Chris Jericho defeats Kane in this match, and this was a very solid last man standing match. Not going to say it was my favorite last man standing match, but it was still a good one nonetheless. It was a very fun match. They brawled to the back. They were brawling all over the building, and then they finally, it ended with Jericho crushing Kane by the set, using these oil drums that were welded together to crush Kane, like this tower of oil drums, fell right on top of Kane. Armageddon 2000 had, a set that looked like it had, a bunch of crushed cars, a bunch of old, broken down cars, littered the set, as well as these oil drums and everything. It fit the theme of this pay-per-view very well, and it was still... And I gotta say, I love this set design of this show. Along with the set for Armageddon 02, and probably Armageddon 99, and I think the rest of the Armageddon shows had some good set designs as well, but this is one of my favorites from 2000, the second Armageddon show. Next up, we get a segment from the middle of the ring where Vince McMahon claims that he's going to put a stop to the Hell in a Cell main event for the WWF Championship because Vince McMahon wants to protect his assets. He basically trying to demonize Mick Foley, calling Mick Foley a sadist just because Mick Foley had his career ended earlier in 2000 when he had the title match with Triple H at No Way Out 2000 in the Hell in a Cell match, career versus title match against Triple H. But more on No Way Out 2000 when I decide I plan on doing it. I don't know when I plan to do No Way Out 2000, but I think I don't know when I'm gonna do it. But back onto this show. What else happened on this show? Well, our next match was a 4-way tag team title match for the WWF World Tag Team Championships as Edge and Christian defeat Road Dogg and K-Quick, Bull Buchanan and the Good Father of the RTC, of the Right to Censor, still hate this faction, and the Dudley Boys. Now, let's talk about Edge and Christian. Now, I had no problem with Edge and Christian winning. I love Edge and Christian. Edge and Christian would have to be my favorite tag team of all time. I gotta say, there's no competition in my heart. I loved their characters of being a great tag team that would do anything to win. You know, Edge and Christian were a great tag team. But I mean, Road Dogg and K-Quick, basically, by that point in 2000, DX was dead. The Outlaws were no more. Practically, Road Dogg was teaming with K-Quick, a.k.a. R-Truth, a.k.a. Ron Killings. And really not much to the team except they had a trashy rap song called Get Rowdy. I found that song very annoying when I went back and watched this show, and I really didn't like this tag team all that much. Honestly, then after that, we would later see the end of Road Dogg in WWE. I mean, he would later be fired from the company due to violating the wellness policy and everything. Yeah, I mean, as the Attitude Era was wrapping up, we saw the end of Road Dogg. Like, DX was dead. Like, Billy Gunn was doing the one Billy Gunn gimmick. And speaking of Billy Gunn, we see Chris Benoit defeat Billy Gunn to become the Intercontinental Champion. Not really much to say about this one, other than the fact that Billy Gunn, he was very forgettable as the Intercontinental Champion. Like, were they really thinking that they could try to undo burying Billy Gunn from the previous year after Billy Gunn won the 1999 King of the Ring and he had the feud with Rock and he would lose the feud with The Rock? It really did not. It really just baffled me that Billy Gunn would try to put the IC title on Billy Gunn at this state. Maybe back in '99 they could have done this, but it was freaking late 2000. They should have done it back in 1999, not late 2000. But I digress. Next up, we get Ivory of the RTC. We have Ivory defeating Trish Stratus and Molly Holly to retain the WWF Women's Championship. And this was a really solid women's title match. I mean, all three of these ladies put on a good match. Trish had Test and Albert with her. Molly Holly had Crash Holly with her. And then And then a big fight broke out at the end of this match, like after Ivory retained the title. Like we saw TNA duking it out with Crash Holly, and Crash Holly was getting his ass kicked. And right as things look bleak for Molly and Crash, out comes the returning APA. And the APA get the revenge on Test and Albert for taking them out back at No Mercy 2000. And the APA stand tall. They beat the shit out of Test and Albert. They get their revenge on Test and Albert. And Test and Albert flee after the scuffle. It was good to see the APA returning because the APA were freaking badass. They were a really badass duo. Two tough guys in Farouk and Bradshaw that were two legit badasses. Like, they will kick your ass. I mean, they will not only drink beer, but they will kick ass and start a bar fight. That was how cool the APA's gimmick was. And finally, we get to the 6-man Hell in a Cell match. Kurt Angle versus Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Triple H versus The Undertaker versus Rikishi versus The Rock. 6 men duke it out for the WWF Championship, and man, does the chaos start very early. And who better to start the chaos than the rattlesnake himself, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And boy, was this match incredible. This was a spectacle of its own. 6 superstars in the same time, duking it out. All of these guys having grudges against each other. All of these guys ready to settle their differences inside this structure. Everyone beats the crap out of everyone. Like, Triple H is the first one who gets bloody. And then we later see Austin get bloody. Rock got bloody. Everyone got bloody except for Rikishi. Vince McMahon during this match tries to stop the match. He commandeers a truck with Briscoe and Patterson, his stooges. And you see Vince pull the door down to the Hell in a Cell with the truck. Out comes Mick Foley, who was the WWF commissioner at the time. And he basically has Vince thrown out of the Jefferson Center. He has Vince thrown out of the freaking arena. And the match went beyond the freaking Hell in a Cell structure. Like, we see Austin hit Triple H with a camera crane that just nails Triple H right in the face onto one of the old cars that were littering the set of Armageddon 2000. We see all 6 of these guys, we see them battle on top of the cell. We see the most memorable moment was where we see Undertaker chokeslam Rikishi on top of the cell, and Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler was calling the whole freaking show. And Jim Ross's reaction to this was like he's saying, "Don't do it, Undertaker! Don't do it! My God, Rikishi has been chokeslammed all the way to hell!" Yeah, we're seeing Rikishi get chokeslammed all the way to hell. And it was definitely a really good match, this was. This was the match that stole the show for Armageddon 2000. This was a really solid way to end the year. But in the end, Kurt Angle won the Hell in a Cell match, just by having his arm cover the Rock. After Rock was taken down with a Stone Cold Stunner, then Triple H hit Austin with a neck breaker. And basically, Kurt Angle, who was a bloody heap, put his arm on top of the Rock. 1, 2, 3, Kurt Angle is still your WWF champion. However, even though Angle may have won the match, Stone Cold Steve Austin would give Kurt Angle the Stone Cold Stunner. And of course, it was one last hell-raising stunner for Austin. The show's over. And then the show would be over after that. So, final thoughts of this show. Well, it did have its fair share of good matches to some decent matches to some that were not so good matches, like Billy Gunn versus Chris Benoit wasn't that even. I mean, Benoit was a great worker, and I'm not going to say Billy Gunn was a bad worker, but the match was not that great. Honestly, I enjoyed this show, and it was a fun ride of talking about it. So, on a plus side, Armageddon 2000 would be worth your time if you watched it on the network or if you have the VHS of it. It's a very solid show and definitely had some moments, and it was a great show overall. Well, in January of 2019, my first pay-per-view of the year of January is the 1999 Royal Rumble. This has been your Digital Super Saiyan 3, and I'll see you next time.